Dr. Napier was habitually with her. Doesn't mean with her all the time, means frequently with her. And that he was aiding and abetting her in any way, such as putting a separate entrance in the basement flat. Then the onus is on the defendant to prove on the balance of probabilities that he wasn't knowingly living on the earnings of prostitution. So, the question you have to answer, since everything else is contingent upon it, was Mary Heppel using the basement flat in Dr. Napier's house for the purposes of prostitution? Two witnesses for the prosecution, Detective Sergeant McCovey and Mr. Vernon Cox, have testified that when they called on Mrs. Heppel, they received perfectly genuine astrology readings, but that on payment of further monies, intercourse appeared to be available. Though only one of the witnesses, Mr. Cox, has actually said that he availed himself of these facilities. Now, Mrs. Heppel has admitted having sex with a stranger, the right stranger, by which one infers she means someone who attracts her, someone who appeals to her. Now, this, you might think, distinguishes her from the normal picture of a prostitute as someone who sells herself indiscriminately for money, regardless of any satisfaction to herself. But the law says a prostitute is someone who sells herself sexually for money. Mrs. Heppel, whilst admitting having sex with some of her clients, has denied that she was paid for it, and she has ample documentary evidence to back her up. She returned a very comprehensive income tax form, and she has these printed forms, these receipts from the client, signed by the client, saying that the money they paid to her was for astrology alone. And the one witness who said that he had sex with her indeed signed one of these receipts. How much importance should you attach to these receipts? That is for you to decide. My only advice is, if you think they were tendered in bad faith, so to speak, with a wink, then you should ignore those receipts. Now please retire and consider your verdict.
All stand. Prisoner will stand. Members of the jury, will your foreman please stand? Just answer this question, yes or no. Have you reached a verdict upon which you are all agreed?
Yes.
Do you find the defendant, Paul Alexander Napier, guilty or not guilty of living wholly or in part on the earnings of a prostitute?
Not guilty.
Mr. Napier, you are discharged and free to leave the court.
Court will rise.